The rain fell in sheets across the Viridian plains, turning the red soil into rivers of crimson mud. Darren Cole trudged through it, his boots sinking with every step, his arms cradled protectively around a small, trembling form. The hatchling wheezed against his chest, its scaled body burning with fever despite the cold downpour. "Hold on, little one," Darren whispered, adjusting his weathered jacket to shield the creature from the rain. "Just a few more kilometers to the settlement. They'll have medicine there." The hatchling was no larger than a house cat, its iridescent scales dulled by illness, its wings folded limply against fragile ribs. Darren had found it collapsed near the wreckage of his survey drone, abandoned and dying. Any sensible colonist would have left it. These creatures were dangerous, their adult forms capable of incinerating entire vehicles with a single breath. But Darren had never been particularly sensible. He didn't notice the shadow moving parallel to him through the storm. Queen Veraxis maintained her distance, her massive form rendered nearly invisible by the sheets of rain and the natural camouflage of her dark scales. She had been tracking the human for 3 hours now, ever since he had lifted her youngest offspring from the mud with surprising gentleness. She should have killed him immediately. Humans were invaders on this world, weak, soft things that arrived in their metal ships and carved their settlements into her domain. They respected nothing, understood nothing of the ancient ways. When she had felt her hatchling's distress through their telepathic bond, she had flown in fury, prepared to unleash her wrath upon whatever had harmed her child. But then she had seen this human, soaked and shivering, speaking soft words to a creature that would one day grow large enough to swallow him whole. This human, who moved with careful deliberation to avoid jostling the sick hatchling, who shared his own body heat without hesitation, who whispered encouragement as if the small dragon could understand. Veraxis felt something unfamiliar stir in her ancient heart. Confusion, curiosity, something else she couldn't name. Darren stumbled, catching himself on a jutting rock. The hatchling mewled weakly, and he immediately checked it over, his calloused fingers gentle as they brushed across fevered scales. I know. I'm sorry," he murmured. Just a little further, through the bond, Veraxis felt her offspring's pain ease slightly at the sound of the human's voice. Impossible. Her kind did not respond to human speech. They were prey animals at best, pests at worst. Yet her hatchling was comforted by this one's presence. The human began to sing. It was a simple melody, off-key and barely audible over the storm, but Veraxis found herself slowing her pace to listen. The words spoke of home, of safety, of promises kept, human concepts, meaningless sounds. Yet the hatchling's breathing steadied. Darren's settlement finally emerged through the downpour, a cluster of prefabricated structures huddled against the elements. He broke into an awkward run, splashing through puddles, shouting for the medical bay. Colonists emerged, their faces registering shock at the creature in his arms. "Are you insane, Cole?" someone shouted. "That's a dragon hatchling. Do you have any idea what the adults—" "I don't care," Darren barked, pushing past them. "It's dying, and I'm not letting that happen. Someone get Dr. Yamato now." He burst into the medical facility, laying the hatchling carefully on an examination table. The doctor arrived moments later, her expression cycling through disbelief, professional concern, and resignation. "You're going to get us all killed," she muttered, but her hands were already moving, scanning the creature with her medical instruments. "Its core temperature is critical. Respiratory infection, possibly viral. I'll need to adapt our antibiotics, but you can save it." Darren's voice was raw with hope. Dr. Yamato met his eyes. "I'll try. But Cole, when the mother comes looking, then I'll deal with her," Darren said quietly. "This little one didn't ask to be sick. Didn't ask to be abandoned. I'm not going to abandon it either." Outside, perched atop the settlement's water tower, Queen Veraxis listened through the thin walls. Her kind's hearing was exceptional, honed by millennia of evolution. She heard every word, felt every emotion in the human's voice. "Deal with her," he had said, as if he could stand against her fury, as if he would even try, after saving her offspring. She watched through the window as the human refused to leave the hatchling's side, even as the doctor worked. Watched as he held one tiny claw between his fingers, continuing his soft, meaningless words. Watched as dawn broke and he remained, exhausted but vigilant. The hatchling's fever broke as the sun climbed. Veraxis felt it through the bond, the crisis passing, strength slowly returning. Her offspring would live. Because of this human. This impossible, foolish, gentle human. As Darren finally allowed himself to slump in a chair, sleep claiming him even as he maintained his protective vigil, Veraxis made a decision that would have bewildered her kind. She would not attack this settlement. Would not punish these humans for the trespass of being on her world, not while this one lived among them. She spread her wings, preparing to return to her mountain lair. But she would watch. She would remember. And perhaps, though it went against everything her species believed, perhaps not all humans were the same. The queen departed in silence, leaving behind only the faintest impression of massive talons in the mud. Inside the medical bay, Darren stirred in his sleep, his hand still resting protectively near the hatchling. Neither knew that they had just rewritten the future of two species. Neither knew that this was only the beginning.